terms of writing a thank you note if you've gone on an interview is 24 hours. That doesn't necessarily apply for a gift, but think about it. It is business. It's not your friend. It's not your aunt or your grandma who gave you a gift. It's somebody who didn't really have to give you a gift. So to acknowledge it as quickly as possible is best, because then you get so busy with other things that you may not, it may fall through the cracks, and that's looked upon so poorly. And those are the types of things that you always remember about that person.
Sure. And then
that they didn't write a thank you note.
And Lisandra, thank you so much. Were there any last thoughts or tips on holiday gift etiquette before we have to cut you loose?
Not to go overboard with overspending. It's a tough economy, and even when it's not a tough economy, it's not something that you have to overspend. Really take some time and think about what it is that you might want. What is it that you want your gift to say about who you are and what you think about the person, and do it that way instead of overspending.
Lisandra Vega, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
It's been a pleasure.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, we have to cut to our second commercial break, and the theme is scientists.
Mad scientist.
Mad scientist, yes. Okay, now Isaac Newton was known for his research on gravity. Remember
he was not a mad scientist.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, that's true. He didn't invent gravity with apple falling. He just kind of observed it, right? However, which branch of mathematics is he credited for developing? He didn't invent it, but he developed it. He's credited for developing it more. And we'll be right back. Well, welcome back to the Best of Investing. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, and I'm here in the studio with Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money. When we cut to the second commercial break, we asked this trivia question. Isaac Newton was known for his research on gravity. However, which branch of mathematics is he credited for developing?
Well, I always remember hearing as a kid that Isaac Newton discovered gravity, and I
invented it.
Used to think to myself, well, was everybody just kind of floating around,
until he figured it out.
Before he figured it out.
That is true.
I hate showing my ignorance, and you got to stop asking these technical questions. I don't know the answer to that one.
Calculus, and in fact, what it ended up, the reason
I hate him.
The reason he developed it was he was trying to explain planetary rotation to his friends. They couldn't get it, so he but he developed calculus.
That guy would be an internet billionaire today.
Oh, yeah.
At the age of 25.
Yeah, he was pretty sharp. Now, we have an email here that we received from Mark, and it is, once I have decided to invest with Pacific Private Money, sounds like a new client, when do you need my funds, and when do I start to earn interest?
We have two types of clients that we serve. We are private money loan originators. We make loans to real estate investors, and so we have borrower clients who come to us with loan applications that the banks right now are generally not funding, and the banks right now are generally not funding loans to real estate investors. And so those investors out there that are looking to buy fix and flip real estate in this market, or maybe buy rental property, or maybe they own commercial property and they need cash out financing, oftentimes today if you go to the bank with that loan request, they politely decline, because quite frankly they're making gobs of money right now doing consumer home loan purchases, and they're generally not really interested in investment property lending today. So Pacific Private Money was formed in 2008 after the subprime meltdown and after the banks pulled back their lending, and so we serve that market that they've largely vacated. And so we do a pretty steady business, as do a lot of companies throughout America. But in the Bay Area, there are several companies like ours that are in the business of making these types of loans. And the other type of client we serve, and it's related to the question, is we fund these real estate loans using private individual capital. We're using money coming from people's retirement savings, and a very popular source of funds is people's self-directed IRA accounts, because people open up self-directed IRAs for the purpose of being able to invest in what's called alternative asset classes, meaning alternative to stocks and bonds. And quite possibly the goal is to get higher yields on your savings.
Which people a lot of people don't realize that in order to retire, they really are going to need a fairly good interest rate on that money. especially if it's going to be compounding over a number of years.
Well, and that's what's made private lending, also known as trust deed investing. Trust deed investing, you can look that up on the web. There's a lot of articles on the internet that will explain a little more the ins and outs of trust deed investing. But it's become very, very popular in the last several years because we're living in a zero interest rate environment. And so CD returns are dismal. Bond returns, for the most part, are fairly low. Stock returns, well, those are called equities because it's an equity play. You don't know what your return is going to be. However, when you loan your money, when you fund a security instrument, which is what funding a loan is known as, you're guaranteed usually a fixed interest rate. And so the loans we originate to our real estate investor borrowers are typically between 9 and 11% fixed interest for 1, 2, or 3 year periods, and it's secured by local real estate. We only loan on local Bay Area real estate. And so the person, the client who funds that loan will typically earn on average 1% below the note rate. So if the note rate's 10%, the investor will receive 9%, and they'll receive that monthly because our borrowers make monthly interest payments.
Isn't that amazing? So the monthly interest is like 0.75% per month.
Per month,
That's
right.
more than people are getting in a whole year.
Yeah, right, on a 6 month or 1 year CD.
So the question about, when do you need the funds by, and when do they start earning interest?
And that's what makes it this, trust deed investing a little bit interesting, if I may say. And that is because many of the loan applications I get, and the reason the borrowers are willing to pay a higher rate is because we're generally expected to provide a fast funding, a fast loan. And so oftentimes I'll get a phone call and they got to close a real estate transaction very, very quickly. They were the low bidder. They probably had to do no contingencies, close in 10 days. So by the time I get the loan application, the clock's ticking, and they got to close next week. So my investor clients, those who are funding the loans we originate, the experienced ones have learned that they need to be able to make a decision quickly. Now, they're not making a decision in a vacuum. We still have collected all of the information on the borrower. We've got the loan application, we've got their credit report, we've got their background check.
Sure, they're not doing it blindly.
No, we've got the preliminary title report, we've got pictures, we may have an appraisal, we certainly have an MLS listing if it's a purchase. So we've got all the data so they can make an informed decision. And of course, we've been doing this a long time. We've done 400 loans in the last 4 years, so we kind of know what we're doing, as do many good private lending companies in the Bay Area. But it is a quick decision. So they usually need to be able to supply their funds within as low as 3 to 4 days to as much as maybe 7 to 10 days. So there is a little bit, every deal's a little bit different. So it could be, they should be prepared to be able to fund that loan within a week, sometimes a little bit shorter.
So now, how much time though, how does the process work? Do you call a client and say, I've got one for you, and then they have a certain amount of time to decide?
We do it a couple of ways, and I'll tell you, it's actually, what's interesting about our business model is that email is the most efficient way to send a investment opportunity to several hundred potential clients. And we do have a fairly healthy list of investors who want to see our trust deed investment opportunities, our loan funding opportunities. And the problem is sometimes we'll get a number of loan applications, and in a perfect world we'd be able to pick up the phone, make a few phone calls, find someone who wants it. But it's really, when time is of the essence, I got to shoot it out sometimes to 50, 75, maybe 100 investors. And that's more efficient for us as a company. But we've run into some situations lately where if it's a particularly good loan, we'll get, immediately within a few hours, we'll get email responses or phone calls from clients saying, I really like that loan, send me more information. And it's like, oops, you just sold it 5 minutes ago to somebody else. So it is an interesting game where the people who've been doing this for a while tend to have a little bit of an advantage. But when I get calls from new clients, oftentimes I will hand carry a deal or
Yeah.
2 or 3 to them.
Well,
and
because you want them to be a long-term
give them an
client,
opportunity to look.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to cut to our third and final trivia question commercial break. And again, the theme is scientists. Are you ready for this one? Okay, Einstein's E equals mc squared. What does C stand for? And we'll be right back.
Energy equals mass times candy squared.
There you go. Candy. Anybody?
Corn.
Anybody? Corn.
I don't know. I should know it. I used to know it.
Mark, this is embarrassing. I'm just kidding.
You're setting me up with these questions.
I know.
Kramer, do you know?
Just
You're thinking
just
too,
keep your
huh?
hands together.
I was in college way too long ago.
And
That was before Einstein invented it.
It's
fortunately,
true.
I saw it a month ago and I can't still comprehend it.
Well, I don't understand the.
Why it's relevant?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, I don't understand how the equation actually
Works?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, candy. I mean, how does candy have? I mean, if that was the answer, right? It's not, but that's cool. One thing I wanted to cover is I just saw an email or not a website news article. The owner of Denny's restaurant's going to start charging 5% surcharge to offset Obamacare.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And,
Yeah, let's talk about that. And then I got an article in the weekend paper that featured Brian Burke and Jeff Lerman
Yeah.
and Kathy Fettke. And I think the article itself is a puff piece. And,
Sure.
there's no new information that, anybody paying attention didn't already know. But I
It's just kind of fun. We can talk about how we use it previous.
Yeah.
Oh, let me see how much time we have here. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, and I'm here in the studio with the best California private lender I know, Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money.
Oh, you're too kind.
Too kind. Okay, well, here, we got the question for you. Einstein's
Yeah, now you're setting me up.
I'm setting you up for a big one. Okay, Einstein's E equals mc squared. What does C stand for?
Well, I went to college before he'd even invented that,
That's
that
true.
theory. So no, energy equals mass times what squared? C. I don't know. Candy? What is
No, the velocity of light. I know it has nothing to do with C, but energy
C?
equals
Oh,
energy
duh.
equals mass
I
times
got
the
thrown
velocity
off.
of light squared. So the answer C equals the velocity of light.
I'm really not as stupid as I look.
Well, we're on radio, so that's a good thing. But by the way, Mark Hanf has shaved off his mustache and beard. We can see that handsome face yet again. Okay, now a couple of quick things here. First of all, in the news recently, an owner of 40 Denny's restaurants. So this guy owns 40 different Denny's restaurants. He says he's going to start charging 5% surcharge to offset Obamacare. That's coming up pretty soon. And, I guess it's legal because, SF charges, 3.5% to 4% surcharge for city's healthcare ordinance. But here's the question. How much of the money actually works its way into the workers' health benefits? Another surcharge.
This would be a more interesting story if it were a restaurant other than Denny's. I mean, come on. They have had their racial issues of the past. Now you've got Obama, who, is an African-American president. The correlation there just bothers me.
Yeah. I don't like that word of African-American. I mean, I'm not European-American. I'm American. He's American. He doesn't come from Africa. Well, he actually might. He actually might from Kenya, but the typical person is, they're just Americans.
Well, you're saying you don't like political correctness?
No, I am not a PC man. I am not an Apple man, so I guess I am a PC man. Okay, meaning personal computer. Okay,
Yes.
Mark, you had a couple of articles that you thought were interesting.
Yeah, well, one in particular, there was a noteworthy article about real estate, and since I'm a real estate guy, I'm always bringing real estate articles to the show. And this past weekend, and it featured several past Best of Investing guests, including
hosts, so
actually,
co-hosts.
Brian Burke of
Yeah.
Praxis Capital was featured prominently in this article. He was a former co-host, and Jeff Lerman, noteworthy San Rafael real estate attorney, who's been our guest, I think, twice on
yeah,
the show.
that's correct.
We're both quoted in there, but I got to say, I'll talk about the article just in a moment. I think it's a little bit of a puff piece because anybody who knows anything about real estate or has been watching the real estate market, kind of already knows most of what they talked about. The title was "Investors Rushing into Real Estate Deals," and the very first sentence kind of bugged me. It says real estate investors, an increasingly potent force in the Bay Area market during the housing downturn, are rushing to lock up deals before rising home prices wipe out their chances for profit. And I kind of scratched my head and said, what? Now, if prices are going up, they're going up on both sides. First of all, real estate investors are buying homes at distressed prices, because if they're buying it to flip or buying it for upward appreciation, they're buying it at a price that provides them the opportunity to add value through remodeling and ultimately flipping the price.
Sure.
So they're
I think what they're getting at is if the prices go too high, then it's not going to be worth it for these investors to buy them, put in money and try to
well,
flip
you
it.
know, I just don't agree with that.
Oh, because in
I think
theory,
a real
the
estate,
prices are still- yeah,
if
I
you're
see
a
what
good
you're
real
saying.
estate investor, you can make money in real estate no matter what the market is doing.
That's
Even
true.
when the market was going down in 2008, you could buy, fix, and flip in 2008, get in and out of a property within a 90 to 120 day period while prices were declining and still make a profit.
And that's because they bought it right.
That's because you always, you're buying it
Yeah.
right. Now, if you
That's
buy
always
it
the case, yeah.
incorrectly, I mean, people always lose money in real estate by buying wrong or not doing enough due diligence.
Or
So
sometimes they get lucky and they could buy at any price, and if it goes up, they
Yeah.
could still make money in that.
another sentence said, the window of opportunity is rapidly closing as prices rise. Over the next 18 months, profit margins in single-family opportunistic buying will be compressed quite a bit. And I guess, when you make a statement like that, you must assume that there is no appreciation. And so, again, I just don't agree with that.
Oh, I hear what you're saying, because in theory, if all prices are going up, then the price...
They're going up on both sides.
Yeah,
If
yeah, I hear
the
what you're
distressed
saying.
prices are increasing, the resale, the post-remodel, the so-called
Yeah, those are-
after-repaired value,
so you're still
as we
gonna get
call
your
it.
profit.
Right, in
I
real
get
estate,
it.
we always work toward the ARV, the after-repaired value. So you buy real estate and go, if I fix it up, how much can I sell it for? That's your ARV, your after-repaired value, and you're solving for that. Both sides are going to continue to increase. It just doesn't happen on one side. You can't say, well, I can't get a good deal on a house
So what do
anymore
you think
because
they're getting at, then?
well, I don't know. I just think the article is if the point of the article is, hey, you better buy now because otherwise you're going to miss out, that's nonsense. Real estate is going to be a good bargain for the foreseeable future. In fact, it's never not a good bargain, in my opinion, to invest in real estate.
Yeah, it's just a matter of which
Equity
one. And
always happens in one shape, form, or another.
there you go. From Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money. He has spoken. Okay, hey guys, we're going to have to do it, guys. It's just you and me today. Thoughts for the day. It's always darkest before the dawn. So, if you're going to steal your neighbor's newspaper,